Welcome to Traveler's Tales. I am your host, Greg Alonzo. Today I will be your guide through history as we take a look at your questions and comments in part 2 of the Scythians, Lords of the Steppes. Before we begin, just a reminder that we post new videos every Tuesday and Friday. Don't forget to hit the little bell icon to be notified each time we post new videos. Mythology tells us one thing, while archaeology tells us another. Moving right along, our first question is from Nancy. She wants to know about the role of Scythian women in the family. Nancy, excellent question. Scythian women were more than just caretakers. They also mastered horsemanship, hunting, and joined their men in battle. There is a common belief that the legendary Amazon warriors learned their riding, hunting, and combat skills from the Scythians. Our next question is from Rollo. He wants to know, what are the Scythians primarily known for? Rollo, the Scythians were feared and admired for their prowess in war, and in particular for their horsemanship. They were among the earliest people to master the art of riding, and their mobility astonished their adversaries. Next we have a question from Gilbert. Gilbert wants to know, what breed of horses did the Scythians favor? Gilbert, that is a difficult question to answer. We have learned from recent DNA findings that the Scythians were among the first to practice selective breeding. The Scythians essentially rode the horses from their region and bred them to meet their specific needs. They reared strong, healthy, athletic horses with an aptitude for speed. I do know that today's famous Altai horses are descended from the horses bred by the Scythians. Lastly, the Scythian warrior and his horse were inseparable. In many of the archaeological digs, the warriors that were found were also buried along with their horses. Let's press on. Our next question is from Manolo. He wants to know if it is correct that the Scythians were the first to make compound bows. Manolo, another difficult question to answer. If the Scythians were not the first to develop the compound bow, they were indeed among the first. Our next question is from Toby. He asked, did the Scythians use saddles? Yes, Toby. With regard to saddles and harnesses, the Scythians were among the first to develop and implement this type of equipment. This also gave them the edge in riding and, of course, in warfare. Next, we have a comment from Letitia. She goes on to say that the Scythians were great at smithing, especially when working with precious metals. Letitia, I wholeheartedly agree with you. As the Scythians settled into many places, especially in Eastern Europe, they further developed their skills, and metallurgy was indeed one craft in which they excelled. Let's press on. Our next question is from Julie. She wants to know if I believe that the Amazons were taught their warrior skills from the Scythians. Yes, Julie, I do. The Amazons were said to be fine archers, hunters, and excelled at handling horses. We have another video, Fierce Amazon Warriors, which I will link to this post. I am sure that you will find it most interesting. Our next question is from Sylvia. She asks, why were Scythian men more open-minded compared to men from other ancient cultures? They did treat their women more as a partner rather than inferior. Sylvia, life on the steppes can be harsh and difficult. People had to work together as a team in order to survive. What's the old saying? There is no I in team. For these reasons and a few others, the Scythian men were open-minded enough to see the value of their wives, and together they sought to make life the best they could possibly make it. We have time for a couple more questions. Let's go with one from Damon. Damon asks, did the Scythian cavalry just steamroll over their adversaries in Eastern Europe? Damon, in a word, yes. The Slavs, Goths, and other groups that the Scythians encountered fought in a completely different way. They tended to be more individualistic and often challenged their opponents to single combat. Once the battle ensued, their infantry would commit themselves to an all-out charge. The Scythians, on the other hand, would feint an attack, fire a burst of arrows, and then retreat. Their opponents saw this as their moment to launch their assault. The Scythians would simply use the tactic of right-about wheels, turn their mounts, and as they steadily fired and bombarded the sky with arrows. Our last comment for today is from Hervé. He goes on to say that he believes that the true strength of the Scythians was their uncanny ability to adapt to the environment in which they found themselves. Hervé, I couldn't agree more. This is why the Scythians continued to grow and excel. They were definitely influential on the various peoples of Eastern Europe. This brings us to the end of part 2 of the Scythians, Lords of the Steppes. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Traveler's Tales. Just as a reminder, we post new videos every Tuesday and Friday. Don't forget to hit the little bell icon to be notified each time we post new videos. For your convenience, we have also included our email address and Instagram information. If you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe to Traveler's Tales. This really is the best way to help our channel grow. Traveler's Tales will return with the Sarmatians, the Golden Liberty. Until we meet again at the crossroads of folklore and history, Kartistos.